a young lady that's asking for the 90s men. And as a brother that grew up in the 90s, I was a teenager in the 90s and became a grown man toward the end of the 90s. I feel I can speak on this. Let's go ahead and check that out.
Can we please bring back the 90s men, like the men who adored you for real, the men who really loved you, the men who begged for your love, like the ones who cared about you for real, the ones who, it don't matter who around, they're going to show their love for you. Like, bring back the nice men, bring back the respectful men, bring back the men who don't feel like they have to be please. Because these pit bulls y'all got out here, keep them.
Well, let's go ahead on and talk about the 90s men. What were the 90s men doing? What were the 90s women doing? Because you're not talking about bring back the 90s women. Because to have 90s men, you got to have 90s women. Back in the 1990s, sisters, we're only going to focus on them, in particular, wasn't full of tattoos. The only type of women that had tattoos on them were women on the blade, or unless this woman was in sort of gang. Same thing kind of like with the men. If men was in the gang or did some time, then yeah, you would have some tattoos. Tattoos wasn't a thing like that. Women was focused more on being fly back then, dressing fly. Today, if you fast forward it, they dress how women would dress on the blade back in the 90s. Let's call it what it is. So how can you expect a 90s man when some, not all, when some of you out here dress like you belong on the blade? There's no different with a woman on the blade than some of you, and what you showing everything, literally everything. Everybody see the crack of everything on you, but because you choose to wear that, not because you got caught up in some pimping. You understand what I'm saying? 90s women back in that time period, things was more focused on the family back then. Today, it's not. So the women today are saying, I don't need a man. Now, some of them are backing off on some of that, of course, but they saying, I ain't worried about him. I can just hang out with my girls. I can do this. I can do that. And even though women hung out with each other in the 90s, but they were still more focused on, I want to get with a man. I want to be with somebody or whatever. Okay. Another difference. They didn't have no Me Too movement that happened. Okay. Didn't have that. Men in the 90s wasn't demonized to be men. Men would approach you in the 90s. If they see you a nice looking sister, they can like, oh man, I'm gonna go holler at her. It was no issue and no problem. And men wasn't treated bad even if you turned down that blue moon. If you come in there looking like kind of dusty, you may get clowned. But you knew you had that coming. So how you expect 90s men that never went through Me Too, that never had they were never called toxic masculinity. Men wasn't called toxic. Okay. Men in that time period were men, and you didn't have, listen, you always had people that was in the LGBT, but in that time period, that was so underground. Unless you was a part of that community, you knew where to go with that stuff. Nobody didn't even, there was no crossing of no trans or any of that. You got to think about the time period you talking about, because you didn't live through that. Okay. And maybe you probably would have enjoyed it. A lot of women today talk about the guys don't come approach me. They don't come talk. In the 90s, it would have been no issue. They would have talked to you. As long as you look nice, yes, that's all. They would talk to you. You understand? So how you going to have 90s dudes today? You just can't. It's not going to work. I'm going to say a lot of damage has been done to this generation of men where they can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like at one point in time, I remember women didn't even cuss like they cuss today. They may say things here and there, but not like they do today. The women that talk like Cardi B and Sexy Red, female rappers we had back then was like MC Lyte. MC Lyte wasn't talking like Cardi B and Sexy Red. They talk like 304s. We had Queen Latifah, another woman rapper. Now, the first rapper that kind of came out that started, I'm going to say their mother, that started all the nasty rapping was Lil' Kim. She came out more so in the late 90s. And it really, in a lot of standards, Lil' Kim is not really as quote unquote nasty in her lyrics as a Sexy Red or a Cardi B would be. I'm just keeping it 100 with you. And when they brought that part of the game out, that changed a whole lot of things too. Prior to that, you had a lot of, like say, the female rappers were totally different. Totally different. They were rap, but they were more focused on being fly, dancing, and all of that. Salt and Pepper, you never seen them talk. They never talked the way Sexy Red talks. They wasn't full of tattoos all over the place and showing themselves. Everybody about their hair looking fly, their clothes looking fly. You know, if you go look at the videos from the 90s, look at all the complexion of the women back then. Their complexion was clear complexion. Today, just look at the difference. All you gotta do is go. They got the videos are out there with the 90s, and then fast forward today. It's night and day. So how are you gonna ask for the 90s men when you don't have 90s women? It wouldn't work because 90s men would be called weird. 90s men will be looked at as toxic. I'm just calling it 100 and all that nice guy stuff. Some of the 90s women was talking to thugs too. That like that thug stuff that's kind of universal with every time period. Women talking to some sort of thug, or you want to call them whatever you want to call them in your time period, right? So just because a quote unquote nice guy, now maybe from the look of her, maybe she's in her 30s, early 30s. So she kind of realizing, hey, this stuff is not it. I want to kind of find me a good guy, settle down. There's nothing against her. And not say she can't find that. Well, let me rephrase that. Not to say that it possibly can't find her. But the problem with it finding her today is that so much damage has been done where the guys don't want to say nothing. And this is a universal thing. I can't even say it's a black thing because you see women of all communities saying the guys won't say nothing to you. They all say they'll look at you. They'll look interested, but they will not say nothing to you. And from what they're saying, the only guys that will pull up on them is older guys. Maybe guys in my age group, Gen X, and maybe older. Or pull up on them and don't have no problem saying nothing to them. But this new age guy, they don't really want to say nothing to you. So yeah, that request is kind of, you have a whole lot of stuff to reverse. And I'm not saying the sisters had nothing to do with the Me Too movement and all that stuff. I'm not saying that, okay? But unfortunately, the unintended consequences is men is like, nah, I'm good. And I'm telling you, it's just what I've seen. When these same men get outside the country that didn't have that, those same men have no problem approaching women outside the country. Because I've been in African countries. I'm going to focus on black. I've been to African countries and I've seen black American brothers have no problem going to talk to one of those African sisters over there. You know why? The atmosphere isn't like America. But here in America, and I've talked to them and say, yeah, I don't really say a whole lot to them. They'll say black American women are attractive. They'll say that. And they want to talk to some of them. But every time they go on a trip, we've had several trips, and they'll say it was just so much easier to talk to them over there because they was very approachable. So don't worry about, listen, you don't have to worry about what other women are doing, ma'am. All you have to do is make sure you're in a position where you can just attract one good man. That's all you need is one. It don't matter about all the millions of men and what they're doing. Same thing with when I tell men that. It don't matter what all these other women are doing. All you got to do is get one. That's it. Just get one. All of them can be messed up. It don't matter. Just get one. You get one good one that's for you. It don't even matter, bro. Don't matter. So now the 90s men are gone, sister. They gone. Y'all got to deal with the unfortunately unintended consequences of what happened prior to, after the fact. Because like I said, 90s men will be considered all kind of weird and everything else if they was placed in today.